At the beginning of the movie, we see the Kingdom of Long Trellis, where people are practicing some entertaining activities. The king smiles as he sees the performances, but the queen seems a little out of sorts. One of the performances ends with a jester spilling a bucket of water on a pregnant woman. It does not sit well with the queen, and she leaves the room right away. She has tears in her eyes as she walks out of there, and the king follows her. The queen gets to her chamber and starts breaking objects, taking out her frustration. King finally gets to her, and she starts crying as he embraces her. In the evening, a necromancer comes to King's court and offers them a way through which they can conceive a child. He explains that getting the queen pregnant will cost a life, and this is how the world works. One is coming, the other is going. The queen is happy to hear this solution because she is ready to give her life to get pregnant. The necromancer suggests that if the queen eats a sea dragon's heart cooked by a virgin, she will become with child instantly. The king agrees to it and goes out to the sea. He wears an armor that makes him capable of breathing underwater. The king goes to the bottom of the sea and sees the creature sleeping there. He quietly and slowly gets close to the beast and attacks him with his spear. The creature wakes up and retaliates as it throws the king off. The king tries to get up, but he is unable to see anything because of the blood mixed in the water. He finally sees the creature when it swings its tail before it collapses dead from the wound. The king's men cut out the creature and get its heart out. They take it to the king. The king himself does not at all seem well. As he looks at the creature's heart, the king laughs in triumph and dies right there. The queen gets there and right away goes to lift the creature's heart without caring much about her husband who died in pursuit of this. As the necromancer told them, a virgin cooks the dragon's heart, and we see that it still beats after being separated from the body. When the girl puts the heart in the boiling water, the girl feels bad, and her stomach starts to ache as she clutches her belly in pain. The heart is finally cooked and served to the queen. She is so determined to carry a child that she devours the heart as her hands and face get covered in blood. The next day, the queen and that virgin girl who cooked the dragon's heart both give birth, and the queen is delighted to finally hold a child that is hers. The king of High Hills and the king of Strong Cliff come to attend the funeral of the fallen king of Trellis. We are then taken to the scene 16 years later as we see the queen's son named Elias playing with her in the garden, but she struggles to keep up with him. Elias approached Jonah, who looks exactly like him, and they climb over the maze in order to hide from the queen. The queen is unable to find them and comes back to the castle from where she sees Elias riding a horse with Jonah. The queen sends her knights to bring the boy back, and the boys hide from the knights. They are able to breathe underwater, so they easily evade the knights. The queen then calls Jonah's mother and warns her that she and her son will be banished if her son sees Elias again. Elias walks in as Jonah's mother walks out with tears in her eyes. He then goes on to ask his mother why she is so insistent on separating him from Jonah. The queen, however, reminds him that he is talking to the woman who is her mother and her queen. She goes on to warn him that if he sees Jonah again, he is going to regret it. We are then taken to Strong Cliff, where the king wakes up after a night of drinking and pleasure. He stumbles his way to a window as he hears a woman's melodic voice. He spots a woman in town who hides from the king as he addresses her. The king is determined to get the woman's attention, so he sends her a necklace, being unaware of the fact that the woman is actually old. Dora fawns over the necklace as she looks at it alongside her sister Ima. That evening, the elder sister prepares for bed as the king knocks on their door. Before they open the door, the king expresses his desire for Dora as he confesses that he has fallen for her after hearing her singing. Ima is about to confess the truth when Dora stops her. Dora then goes on to promise the king that she will offer herself to the king if he returns to her in a week. The king is confused, but he agrees as he is filled with desire for the woman. In the next scene, the princess plays a song she composed for her father in the king's palace of High Hills. The king, however, keeps getting distracted by a flea that continues to appear despite the king swatting it away. The princess, named Violet, notices her father's distraction but continues to sing. After her song is over, the king goes to his room right away and tends to the flea. He places it in an ornate box. As the days go by, the king seems to start spending a disturbing amount of time with the flea. He seems more focused on the small creature than his kingdom. On the other hand, Violet's tutor reads her a romance novel and she finds it interesting. Violet expresses to her father that she wants to get married, but he tells her that it is not the time yet, and the princess gets discouraged. After Violet is done with her supper, the king takes the leftovers to the flea, which is now grown big. The creature enjoys the meal as the king looks on pleasingly. He takes care of her as if she was his own child. Meanwhile, in the Kingdom of Long Trellis, the queen and the prince enjoy a bear performing a circus act. The queen seems happy as she sees her son having a good time. In the evening, the queen is preparing for an event and tells Elias that she is going to need his help. As Elias helps his mother with her earrings, the queen takes a whiff of his scent and gets a little skeptical. When Elias gets out of the room, it turns out that it was actually Jonah as he goes to see Elias. The real Elias is thrilled as he says that they can both pretend to be king when Elias ascends to his father's throne. Little do they know that the queen has been eavesdropping and she has heard the whole conversation. When she has heard enough, she knocks on the door and the boys quickly switch clothes. The queen enters the room and reminds Elias of what she sacrificed to have him. Elias does not seem moved by her, and then she goes on to say that no one is going to love him as much as she does. When the queen leaves, Elias and Jonah share a confused look before Jonah leaves to go home. On his way home, he however gets ambushed by the queen as she tries to hunt him down with a fire poker. Jonah however manages to get out of there. The next day, the queen and Elias pose for a painting when Elias keeps getting distracted as he sees Jonah saying goodbye to her mother. Elias eventually follows Jonah and asks him why he is leaving. Jonah does not exactly answer the question and goes on to plunge a knife into a tree root and tells Elias that as long as the root spouts clear water, he is alive and well. A few days later, kids are playing with ducks on the tree from where the water sprouts. Elias goes there to check if the water is clear, and he is relieved to see that it's still clear. Back at Strong Cliff, the sisters try very hard to make their fingers look young. Dora covers her fingers with herbs, but they still look like those of an elderly person. But on the other hand, Ima put her finger in her mouth for many days, and as a result, it's looking quite good and young. Today, a week has passed, and it is the day for the king's visit. When the king arrives there, Dora shows Ima's finger instead of her own. Now the king is not able to hold his emotions and believes that he has found the love of his life. However, the sisters become more worried, because if the king finds out their truth, he will most likely kill them. After a lot of thinking, Dora proposes a condition: she will sleep with the king only if there is total darkness, and the king agrees. In the next scene, Ima starts tightening Dora's body with glue so that it may feel like a young girl's body. At midnight, one of the guards from the temple comes to pick up Dora. While there's darkness in the palace, the king sleeps with Dora, but in the morning, he realizes that he spent the night with an old and ugly lady. Enraged, he orders his guards to throw Dora out of the window. Luckily, she survives the fall. In the jungle, Dora witnesses magic as a witch arrives there and finds her. With her power, the witch changes Dora into a beautiful young lady with long hair. The next day, the king visits the jungle for hunting and falls in love with young Dora at first sight. He brings her to his castle and decides to make her the queen. Back at the Kingdom of High Hills, the king calls the doctor to heal his beloved flea, which is now gigantic. The doctor is amazed to see it as he has never seen a creature like this. It is, however, too late as the creature is already dead. The king asks the doctor to keep its existence a secret. Violet, on the other hand, receives a dress from her father as he has now agreed to marry her off. He says that her husband, however, will be chosen in a game. The king has the big flea skin and uses its skin for the game. He says that he's going to arrange a competition and the one who wins it will get to marry her. Upon hearing this, Violet becomes happy, but also a little upset as she wanted to find a husband on her own. Despite this, she agrees to the king's decision. Soon, announcements about the competition are made throughout the kingdom. The king displays the parasite skin in his palace and announces that whoever can guess the name of the insect will win. Many people try, but no one can answer correctly, because that insect has never grown that big and old. However, an ogre appears and correctly identifies the skin by smell. Upon hearing this, Violet is horrified, and she climbs the castle stairs and threatens to take her own life. The king pleads with her, and she ends up marrying the ogre. The ogre takes her to the mountains and takes her to a cave where he lives. Violet is scared to see all the bones in there. She sits in a corner, and she cries for many days. Back in the Kingdom of Long Trellis, the water is clouded with blood from the tree. Elias realizes that something is wrong. In order to find Jonah, he leaves the kingdom without notifying his mother. After a long search, Elias finally reaches Jonah's house. He discovers that Jonah has married a young woman. There, the people there identify him as Jonah since they share the same facial features. He then learns that Jonah has gone to the forest 5 days ago and has not returned since. Elias then goes out in search of Jonah while the queen grows more concerned about him. Left with no options, she approaches the necromancer again, but he asks her the same thing, that if she wants her kid to return, she must take a life sacrifice. The queen immediately accepts this proposal. Elsewhere, Jonah is seen injured inside a cave. A flying creature then strikes and attempts to kill him. After hearing him scream, Elias locates Jonah and kills the creature with his sword. However, Elias is unaware that the creature is none other than his own mother. But that's what was agreed upon, life for life. At Strong Cliff, a servant hands a dress to Ima and gives her an invitation by the queen to attend the wedding at the royal palace. Ima accepts the invitation and the dress. Ima goes to the wedding. She sees that the queen is a beautiful young woman, not her sister. She gets confused when Dora comes to her and tells her the secret. Dora promises her that she is going to take care of her. Ima, however, gets drunk during the feast and is fascinated by all the royalty, so she refuses to leave. Dora says she cannot stay, but Ima is persistent. She then sneaks into Dora's room and begs her to let her stay. Dora then gets angry and threatens her that no one here is going to believe that Ima is her sister. Ima now wants to be young too, so she asks her to tell her how she did it. She tells her that she had herself flayed. The king approaches and Dora goes to bed with him while Ima hides behind a curtain. The king spots her and has her thrown out. Ima then offers Anne all the jewelry that Dora gave her for the wedding and asks the man to flay her. The man agrees and does it. Ima goes through the pain thinking that she will be young again, but she returns to town bloody and disfigured. She then passes away very soon. Back at the ogre's cave, Violet hears someone outside and goes to find out that it's a woman. She begs the woman to help her get out of there, and the woman agrees to bring her family to do it, and the whole family of acrobats helps her to escape. But sometime later, the ogre finds the family and eliminates them one by one. He then chases Violet into a cave and begins hugging her. Violet also pretends to care, but the moment he's distracted, she finishes him off with a knife. Violet returns to the castle, where the king has grown ill, and reveals that she has the head of the ogre, the husband he chose for her. The king falls to his knees crying. In the final scene, Violet becomes the queen of the kingdom. Elias, Dora, and the king of Strongcliff are among the guests for Violet's coronation as queen. There, Elias nods to her and the king of Strongcliff. As Violet's father walks her to the throne, the crowd looks skyward, where an entertainer is walking a tightrope of fire. Then we see that the magic that turns Dora into a young girl doesn't last long. She starts to grow old as her skin begins to fold. When she realizes that she's turning old, she runs away from the castle.